Hi, I'm kchoi. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I post videos about my life as a consultant, career advice, education advice, as well as anything else I feel like posting, like travel vlogs or food related videos. So if any of that sounds interesting or fun to you, then please hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell while you're there. I've done a handful of videos where I interview people in different fields and ask them to share about their experiences and give advice, and today is going to be another installment of that series. In this video, I'm interviewing Isvari, who is a lawyer and also the president of Dweebs Global, which is a website that provides free mentorship, career advice, mental health advice, just anything to get you through life. I thought she would be a perfect fit for this channel because she has a really interesting resume and work experience history, and her website is all about helping people and giving advice about career as well as other things in life. I'll leave all her information in the description box so you can go follow her, you can find her website and all of that. You'll also find timestamps of the questions I'll be asking, so if there's one that interests you in particular, you can just skip ahead. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into the interview. That rhymed.
Hi, I'm Isvari, and I'm the president of Dweebs Global. In my day job, I'm a lawyer, and I have a background in science, physics, programming, and I also love writing. I'm an author, and I write along with two co-authors, and we do a lot of young adult and sci-fi fantasy stuff.
We'll get to all the different things that you dabble in and work in. Let's start with law. So you're a lawyer. Did you always know you wanted to go into law?
So I didn't, actually, and it was something that I was always interested in politics and in policy. And I really believe that everyone should do their best to sort of improve society, or at least I felt very pushed into that. And so when I was young and wanted to make a difference, my parents often said that one of the easiest ways to do that was to become a lawyer. It was also one of the best ways to get into politics if I eventually wanted to do that, or policy. So I sort of knew law school was always an option. And when I did my undergrad, I was in political science and in physics, and then I sort of decided to graduate early in just political science so that I could go to law school, and I ended up getting in. I sort of took the LSAT the same week as I took the midterm, so I didn't expect to do well, I didn't expect to get in, but I did, and so then I just went straight through and went to law school. It sort of happened by default, even though it was something I'd always thought about. And I'm really thankful it worked out and that I liked law school, but I really don't recommend that. I think of law school as sort of this really big decision, and like you shouldn't do it unless you're 100% sure. I'm glad it worked out, but I never planned to be a lawyer or anything like that.
You have a really diverse set of experiences. So you studied STEM, but also you love writing and you're in law. So how has that just helped you throughout your career path and discovering what you want to do?
I think that I just have a very low attention span. Get bored really easily. So I think when you look back at your life, you try to construct a story oh, I ended up in cybersecurity law because I had a STEM background or something, when in reality it was sort of random and I definitely didn't plan it. I do think that you find all these different ways that the things you know connect, and I think the biggest thing is it just helps you learn new things more quickly and make connections between different things. So I think people often say that physicists or people with a science background do a lot better at the LSAT, or they do a lot better at law because it uses similar types of your brain. A lot of things connect in different ways. I also think it just makes life more interesting. I will say that people, when they interview, always love to talk about the unusual. So I think it's also a way to stand out if you're applying to traditional jobs, to have something weird on the side.
Speaking of something different on your resume, so you mentioned that you're the president of Dweebs Global, right? So could you tell us about what that is?
Yeah, so actually it's the big thing right now is what I do all day, every day, pretty much. I'm also working on a few campaigns, but that's basically my whole life. And we started it by accident, so we just offered to help people because we saw how many people were terribly affected by COVID-19. So I had friends lose jobs, they were depressed, they are still going through a lot of really terrible things, and I didn't know how to help. So I just posted something on LinkedIn earlier this year saying, hey, anybody in my following, if you need help, if you need a free resume edit or career advice or anything else, I am happy to help for free. And so I got bombarded with messages. I have a pretty big following on LinkedIn, and it felt like everyone wanted something, and it was impossible to deal with, but I was very inspired and shocked that my sister and I, who were doing this, got a lot of people offering to help us as well. So they were like, hey, if you have a legal resume, I'm happy to help. If someone is asking for advice to tech, I'm happy to help. And so we sort of had a website already that my husband, my sister, and I were using for like our fun stuff. And we threw it up and we were like, here are some no-nonsense tips for resume. Here are a list of mentors who are willing to help you. And we thought that was that. And then it sort of exploded. So where we are today is we offer free mentorship in any area we'll need it around the world. We do free resume edits, free mental health advice, which I think is the best thing because so many people need that right now and can't get the help they need. Free advice in parenting, school stuff, and applying for college, and the GRE, and tech careers, legal careers, just every place around the world. We have over 300 mentors, and it's just really inspiring that so many people stepped up to say, I'm happy to help other people for free. So it's been really cool.
I think it's awesome. I think it's so helpful and I think very relevant to a lot of my subscribers who are looking for that kind of advice. That's why they come to my channel. So I'm super glad that that's available. You mentioned that it started because you posted a LinkedIn post saying, hey, does anyone need help? Or, especially going through the pandemic. So what advice do you have for people who are currently going through either they want a job change or they got laid off or furloughed or, they're just trying to figure out what to do next?
So I think the big one, and sometimes this is missed over, is to keep track of your mental health because you're just so much more productive if you keep track of your own mental health. You're able to apply to more jobs. You're able to succeed at those interviews and sound like you are doing well and like you have something to offer the team. And I think that is very underrated. So I always tell people first take care of your mental health, whether that's meditating for 10 minutes in the morning or using some cognitive behavioral techniques so that as you go through the day, if you think of something negative, you correct that in your brain and you realize this is a phase, it's not going to last forever. Just because you are in a low place right now doesn't mean you will always be in a low place. There are other opportunities out there, that sort of thing. So I think once you have that settled, and sometimes that means taking a break, like if you've just lost a job, maybe taking a week off to process that, or even if it's just a weekend, letting yourself have that space where you're not immediately jumping to applying to the next thing. That's super important. And then I think after that, it's about keeping the options as broad as you need to keep them. And I think people often think that they need to keep it broader than they actually need to. And I know you have an audience all over. So I think there's a very first world tendency to, at least here in the United States, a lot of people do have savings, or at least they can feed themselves or a full fridge, and that's wonderful. But there are a lot of people in this country as well as overseas especially where that's not the case. And so you then do have to keep your options more broad and make sure that you can get a job and make sure you're creative when you're applying to jobs because there might be something tangentially related to your career that you can jump in on. But I think for those of us who are fortunate enough to have a bit of that savings or to be able to pause, to definitely take that time and look for something that's good for your career next. So look at it as like a career pause. Think of what comes next in your story. Maybe it's a good time for a career change. Maybe it's a good time to write something or to start a YouTube channel or to think about how to supplement your income so in the future you're not completely reliant on one job. I think it's a really good time to do that right now. And if you have the financial ability to do that, to definitely take that opportunity. And in a way, we're sort of lucky in that everyone understands that. So it's not going to look bad, I don't think, in the future. To have a gap on your resume in 2020, everybody's going to know it was a bad year.
Yeah. Any final advice you have for people who are just searching for what to do next in their career?
I think the main thing is looking outside the box and thinking about how the skills you already have plus a new job that you could get could create a really great story down the line. So if your end goal, for example, is to be in like cybersecurity policy and you already have a background in IT or cybersecurity in a business, instead of wanting to get another job in cybersecurity, take a completely different job that like adds that policy element or the writing element to it so that you get good at those skills and then get back into the field later. So my last job, I am technically a cybersecurity attorney. That's my focus. My last job had nothing cybersecurity, but I got to learn some really cool skills, drafting legislation, research, writing, and so it helped broaden the types of jobs I could get after that and also add a really cool skill if I wanted to get back into cybersecurity. So it's really hard to be the best at something because there's one of those people, but it's actually pretty possible to be one of the best in the number of people who know two different skills that most people don't know. And so that's why you find it really valuable to be a good writer, like in the scientific field. If you're a good writer, everybody wants you on their research team to like get their paper out. Or if you're a good editor and a good lawyer, or if you're a good leader and a good lawyer, like there's so many ways that's a lot rarer. So I always encourage people to find their next job in something that might be very different from their previous job, but that will build a good story in the long term.
Oh, well, thank you so much just for taking the time to share about your career path and give some advice and share about Dweebs. I think it's such an amazing resource. I'm so glad to be able to share it with everyone.
Thank you for having me. I love your audience and I love your channel, so I think it's really a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed that video and that you learned something that can help you with whatever career questions or dilemmas you might have right now, especially with the pandemic going on. A big thank you again to Isvari for coming onto my channel and just sharing your experience and your insights. I think that they are so helpful and I hope that all of you find it helpful as well. Let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see on this channel, and if you want to see more interviews, then who you want me to interview, what types of fields or backgrounds you're interested in, because I would love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye.